Okay, so since the last time we met, which I think was December, a whole bunch of stuff has happened in our business, in our individual business as well as the larger business out there. So the first thing is we had Brian's reorganization, which was Catherine moving on to be our Chief Marketing Officer, and then Kevin Kennedy moving on to be the head of the individual annuity business. So that kind of left us in a lurch over the holidays, trying to figure out what to do. And so we had an announcement early in January where Jim O'Connor took over as the head of the 401k business, sales, distribution efforts, as well as key accounts in the sales desk, and kind of redefined sort of the COO role. So even though we're calling it the COO role, pretty dramatically different from what Catherine was doing there, and I'll talk a little bit more about that coming up. And then the change kind of kept coming. So February, we got some new business partners. Fortunately, a really significant upgrade from Rich Migdalski and Jeanette, who I think is in here. There's Jeanette in the back. There's a Wonder Woman picture in here. I think this is supposed to be Paulina. I don't know why. There's no actually like published pictures of Paulina anywhere, but we couldn't find one, right? Is that supposed to be Paulina, the Wonder Woman picture? And then we have... just recently in March here, so we announced Keith Namio. Congratulations, Keith, as our new COO. Tina Anstedt, she's probably out on the road. I didn't see her here, so she's spends 80% of her time in front of clients, which is great. So Tina Anstedt just moved over, kind of same function, but moved over from the advanced markets function underneath the individual annuity business. She was always dedicating 100% of her time to our 401k business anyway, so she's moved over. And as a result of Keith's change, we have an open product role. So that will be posted for the head of our product development. And then let me just kind of quickly welcome some of the newcomers or changes. So we had Tom Lindsley moving from the 401k desk out into an RPC role, retirement plan education or consultant role. Tina, I mentioned. David Kay joining the sales desk. I saw David in here somewhere. Bam, there you go. Tim Sisuyev, who was an RVP out in the field, took one of our new AR360 kind of mid-market wholesaler roles out there. And we added 3 new wholesalers on the tax-exempt side, Sean Quiggins, Sean Duncan, and Andy Rossolo. Notably, the last 2 are going to be focused on that kind of mid-market, open architecture area of the tax-exempt market for us. Elaine Flynn, who's been here, seems like forever now, but I guess not since the last time we forgot to announce her. This is her first time in person, but I saw Elaine around here, so Elaine's on the RFP team. They're right in the center. And then on the 401k side, in terms of RVPs, Brian and Tom Monorat coming in to fill the other AR360 wholesaler role for us on the K side. Comes from AllianceBernstein, so he'll have some good entree there. So a ton of changes. That took longer than I thought it was going to. But this is kind of how we're set up, and this is not like the traditional org chart fashion, but this is kind of how we're set up, or this is the kind of the rationale about how we're set up. So we've got a couple of major client segments. We get the tax-exempt market, we have the corporate market, and the association market. Now, all of this stuff here has got to support both of those markets. And I was in with the COO team a little earlier today trying to explain this, but basically we need to be able to, to scale all of these capabilities and all of this stuff that we're doing across as much business as possible. In this environment, in this market, or in the retirement plan space, where the margins are being compressed all the time, we need to be as efficient as possible and having the right kind of setup where we can kind of extend those capabilities across as much of the market, or as many different facets of the market as we can, is absolutely going to be critical. So that was a big part of the thinking behind the COO role, but certainly applies to a lot of different parts of our organization. So this is what we do, right? Every day, our purpose, which I think is a real noble one, is to get people prepared for retirement. I don't know if you just saw, it was in the newspaper today. It's on the AXA Twitter feed, but there's another industry organization called the Employee Benefits Research Institute. It's kind of a sort of a nonpartisan data provider in the industry, and they've run a survey. I think this is the 27th year of the survey. It's a pretty widely respected survey about preparedness for retirement. How confident do people feel about retirement? And they came out with their statistic, their latest statistic today, and it's like 60% of the people feel confident that they're prepared for retirement. So, hasn't really changed much, right? It's been kind of hovering. It was right around this level, a little bit higher than this level before the recession in 2008 started, dropped down to 50, back up to 60. One of the very interesting statistics I saw in there, or other facts that was in there, was 25% of employees don't have more than $1,000 saved for retirement. So that's a pretty scary thought. I know it doesn't apply to anyone in this room because we have like awesome savings benefits here, and I hope everybody in this room is in Share Plan because that's just one example. And you're in the retirement plans business, so you've got to be involved in your 401k, I hope. But really a startling statistic there about how prepared individuals are for retirement, and I think it really speaks volumes to, I think, the purpose of what we do here. These are obviously the markets that we serve. You know them pretty well. Kind of refocused a bit on association over the beginning part of this year. Just kind of zeroing in on those couple of associations that have been meaningful and significant for us, and we've built up scale in that area. And this is the way that we're going to become in the market here on the right-hand side. So effortless management, fiduciary protection for our plan sponsors, retirement certainty and guidance, personalized guidance for the participants in those plans. So I think it's a pretty powerful statement. You'll see all of those kind of reflected throughout all of our marketing materials as we come to market with our business throughout the year. In 2016, I don't want to spend too much time in 2016 in this presentation, so we have a couple of facts and figures and some numbers around 2016. But I think 2016, we made a really big impact across three major areas: the impact on the company, the impact on AXA advisors, and the impact on our distribution, and the impact on our customers, most importantly. So I'll just hit a couple of these things. In terms of AXA US, we were a big growth driver for AXA in the US, and so I'll demonstrate that in one of the upcoming slides. For AXA advisors, we support AXA advisors in many ways through our excellent service, through the operations center. They crossed $4 billion conserved, I think, in January this year, so that's a great achievement there. Our support on trade associations, that's kind of the air cover that we give to our advisors out there in the field, working with, in particular, K through 12 schools, and the AXA Achievement, which I'll read a couple of things in a minute. But in terms of AXA Achievement, this is just an awesome program. It's awarded $1.8 million this year to either students or schools to help further their education and development. On the customer side, transparent customer feedback. Keep checking back on those online. There's always great comments in there to read about. I always find with any survey, whether it's Scope or AXA Achievement, just read some of the comments, and it's like, if you need a little bit of humor in your day, but also you kind of just want to get regrounded with what's going on. Read the verbatims, read the comments. They're fantastic. And we got an award from the Plan Sponsor Council of America for all the work on Triple Play, for the website, the engagement. So that was awesome. I don't know Paulina, how many awards have we gotten for our website in the past?
So overall, AXA.com, we've won on average 7 or 8 a year.
Oh, so this is like nothing. I thought it was such a big deal. Okay.
One from Washington, one from Corporate Insight Monitor, and then the other one is from
Great. So I thought it was. To be recognized by our peers is always one of the best. One of the best accolades. But I wanted to read a couple of quotes from AXA Achievement. So there'll be a whole bunch of publicity and press coming out around AXA Achievement in the next couple of in the next few weeks as we roll it out, and you get to see those videos of the kids talking, and they're just fantastic. But I opened up the 40 emails I got from the AXA Foundation in terms of all the winners. They had winners at the $2,500 level, $10,000, $25,000 level, and these are scholarships that kids get for school. And then we match when a kid wins a scholarship, we provide their school with a $1,000 grant. Not we, but AXA Foundation provides that school with a $1,000 grant for professional development. So I just wanted to read a couple of the winners. So in the $2,500 category, one of the winners said, "One of my biggest achievements," and this is interesting because I wonder what else this person has done. "One of my biggest achievements was my service project to the Ramini Children's Orphanage in Indonesia. I personally sewed over 156 pillowcase dresses, 35 pairs of shorts, and 56 pillowcases to send to the children at this orphanage who did not have clothing. I received a video of the children receiving the packages, and they were very excited." So that's just like such a great, there's just like reams of these stories in the applications. It's great. And that was only the $2,500 one. $10,000, as part of the Go Baby Go program, I modified Power Wheels cars, does anyone know what a Power Wheel car is? Yeah? I don't know what they are. But this person didn't think they were good enough. They modified the cars by adding PVC supports and padding. I helped streamline the process and rewrite the manual. I then gave these cars to disabled children and their families so that the kids could move independently for the first time in their lives. Instead of spending over $20,000 on a pediatric wheelchair, the parents could simply use the cars and upgrade when the child outgrew it. And then in the $25,000 category, over 45,000 Americans die annually due to inaccessibility to health care for financial or other reasons. After seeing a lack of price transparency, I created Health Smart Tech. HST is a unique social startup that provides comprehensive comparisons of testing costs in multiple facilities. This allows accessibility of information, enabling the uninsured to make educated financial and healthcare decisions. Through HST, my website visitors have been able to save hundreds of dollars in avoidable costs. That is that may not sound like tug on your heartstrings as much as the second one, but that's like what you do with Amazon. Like when you go into the grocery, I do this. I go down to Duane Reade and I'm like, oh my God, I need razors. So I go to Duane Reade and I'm like outraged at the price of razors in Duane Reade. And so I'm like, there's no way I'm paying $40 for 6 razors. So I take out my phone and I look at Amazon and I'm like, oh, they're only $32, and I just order on Amazon right there. That's what this kid has done for the healthcare industry. So anyway, if you get a chance, when you see these things come out, pay attention to them because they're really great stories, and there's like a zillion of them like that out there. Okay, getting back into our business here. This is our performance in 2016 from a sales perspective. So we represent about 20% of the company, 21% last year. We grew on a sales basis at 19%, and you can see from AXA US's perspective, and I wish Brian was here because I was going to say, hey, Brian, without RPS, AXA US, with AXA US grew 3%, without RPS, probably less than 0, right? So we made his life a whole lot easier when he was talking to Paris about how our company performed. Looking at the marketplace and where we operate, I think there's an enormous opportunity in this market for us. And yes, there's pressure on margins, there's pressure on fees, there's changing business models and all that stuff. But at the end of the day, this is by 2020, some estimates, and John, you probably have your own estimates of how things are going. These are Cerulli. We're at the end of 2016, roughly a $7 trillion, which is the middle green bar. That's the defined contribution market. That's kind of all of the retirement plans markets out there right now. And you know we have $30 billion of assets, right? So we're like a complete pipsqueak in the marketplace. We have a significant chunk in the K through 12 space, which happens to be one of the more lucrative spaces to operate in, very difficult to serve, high advice marketplace. But we're hugely underrepresented in the overall defined contribution market. And a lot of the capabilities and things that we've been building over the past couple of years are to help us extend into the other parts of that market. So as we all know, the K through 12 market is a small piece of the overall DC market, $120 billion in assets or something like that. So we have been spending time investing, building the capabilities and the personnel and the organization that we need to be able to participate really effectively in the rest of that marketplace. There's a lot going on under the covers here. So maybe instead of dwelling on this that much more, I think John's going to focus a bit on this in terms of some of the trends in his presentation. Now, because of that, right? So we're moving from kind of the historical RBG K through 12 focus. We're hoping to see growth beyond that. I looked back, and Di sent me some numbers earlier before. If you look at kind of the way we've grown since 2013, we've had kind of mid-single digit growth in our core K through 12 space with AXA advisors. Everything else, 40% growth compound per year. So we're really already starting to see a lot of growth in what I would call kind of the true group plans market there. Yes, we have pressure on margins, and we'll be addressing that as well as we try to scale our business across all these different markets. The kind of the COO organization, I think, is a perfect representation of that. You'll continue to read stuff in the newspaper about the cost of retirement programs in some places, particularly in our kind of core multi-vendor programs like K through 12. There'll be continued pressure there to bring costs down, and we'll deal with that. We will be accessing new markets, the adjacent markets, going up market slightly in the 401k space, and serving some of these larger plans in the tax-exempt space as well. Innovation and technology. I mean, I think that that students' app that they created to compare healthcare prices is like a perfect example of innovation and how it's disrupting the marketplace. Another one that I thought of, or I read about the other day, was so probably a bunch of New Yorkers here ride the subway once in a while. The subway revenues were down for the first time in like a decade or something like that, and people were trying to figure out what was going on there with that. And the economy's up. Usually, when the economy's up, subway ridership goes up. People have to go to work. They're employed and they're moving around. But at the same time, they noticed that the traffic on the streets of New York City was way up as well. And they kind of put two and two together, and they figured out that it's Uber. It's Uber, it's Lyft, it's all kinds of other ride-sharing services that are basically, like, if you can get on the subway, it's $2.75 to ride the subway, which is kind of disgusting. I love the subway, but, it's disgusting. It stinks. It's just a whole bunch of stuff going on down there that you don't want to get involved in every day. And so you can do that for $2.75, or you can get into Uber can be expensive, right? Just like taxis can be expensive, but you can do ride sharing with Lyft or Uber and these other things, for like $3-4 sometimes for a ride. I think Lyft is like $5 flat fee in some cases. $4, yeah. So it's like an extra $1, and you can like get away from all that underground stuff and ride in air conditioning, and especially when it's hot in the summertime. So I think that's just just one example, but there's a zillion examples like that, and they're going to be hitting our industry as well that we need to be prepared to deal with over time. So this is kind of where I think we're going with our business, where we kind of have to go, and just some really a few thoughts on the bottom. But as we build our business out, we continue to adapt to the changing marketplace and try to expand into new markets. The one thing that we are going to use as kind of our milepost or our North Star along the way is really the customer journey. It's how does the customer go from finding out about us to actually having money in their piggy bank at the end of the time, at their point when they're ready to retire. And we're going to be, examining this kind of pretty much in every investment that we make. Anything that we do, we're going to be looking to how does the customer see us? Because at the end of the day, if we do right by the customer, we're going to end up with great results as a business. So if I can just maybe pick out a couple of things here. So the dark red things are, I think, things that we've already kind of done as a demonstration of that, of kind of getting to this. And 2020 is, it's a point in time. It's not the end of the journey. I mean, we're planning for well beyond this. But 2015, we brought the service in-house. We realized that service is really kind of the cornerstone of this business, right? It's not price, right? Anyone can beat you down on price. You got to have the right price, but the thing that's going to retain the business and keep customers happy is the service that you can provide. So we brought in-house our service on the 401k business to match the level of quality that we had on our core K through 12 business. We saw the award on Triple Play and Learning Lab. That was pretty innovative. 2016 Dalbar Award for the call center for the 6th time, which is just, unbelievable year after year to continue to hit that. We launched our open architecture platform, AXA Retirement 360, just kind of at the end of the year, and we're starting to see some results happen this year already. I think we're up to like four cases already, and they just seem to be kind of ticking off right now. But it's good to see that it's starting to get to win some adoption from advisors out there. We started to get some larger takeovers in the 457 and 401k space, and this year, a couple of predictions, I guess that I'd like to throw out there. Our millionth customer, right? So we're ticking away. And I think we're going to cross the 1 millionth customer this year, or participant on our platform, which I think will be pretty cool. Kind of puts us in that sort of more rare kind of category of DC plan record keepers out there. And in the 457 business, something a couple of years ago, we had $30 million a year. And I was talking to Nick, and I'm like, Nick, I think I was trying to get him fired up. But I'm like, this would be $100 million a year by 2020. And he's like, hey, it's great. Let's go. Let's get in there. I'm going to see Billy. I'm going to talk about it. I think we'll do $100 million this year. And so that's been a pretty good success. And, we've typically been kind of in the smaller micro space in the 401k business, which is under $5 million plan size. We had a bunch of $5 million to $10 million plans last year, which is great progress, and 4 plans over $10 million. This year, I'd love to see us get a plan over $20 million. It has to be the right plan. You can go out and kind of get any plan you want. If you have the right capabilities, you can underprice it and you can get it, but it's not going to be a good thing. But I'd like to see us get a $20 million plan as just kind of a benchmark for this year. But our goal is not just to get larger and larger plans. It's to kind of increase the velocity of the wins, increase our win rate on plans kind of in our sweet spot, which is really kind of the $5 to $10 million space, and right around there. I think that'll give us the greatest upside. And then looking out farther to 2020, our legacy or our historic strength has been the K through 12 marketplace, right? That's very much an individual type of sale. It's not a real group plan type of transaction. And so between now and 2020, we're going to continue to make investments to strengthen our group plan capabilities. The education platform is one of those that we're working on this year. And it says connected because it's, we're going to basically be scaling all of these investments. So we'll have kind of a unique experience across all of our different platforms with these various investments. I think that will be open for business quite robustly in the healthcare space. The higher ed space would be kind of a nice to have, but that's kind of like the second tier. Doesn't mean we're going to compete with TIAA-CREF in that space, but it's kind of TIAA-CREF is the only provider in that space for decades and decades. There's got to be a couple of unhappy plans in there that we could find in this space. And I think we could get to, I think we could do more than $1 billion in assets and AUM with our new AXA Retirement 360 plan by 2020. So I think that would be pretty cool to say that we've taken something from nothing to more than $1 billion in just a few years in a couple of markets that we weren't historically in. So I'm really excited to kind of get through this journey because I think we're starting to see the transformation in our business right now. Again, mid-single digit growth in our historic K through 12 business, 40% plus growth in these other types of businesses over the past 3 years. So we're starting to see the evidence of it. We're starting to see the adoption by advisors of our plans and our capabilities. So I think the excitement is just about to start kicking off. So for me personally, some of you who've been at other meetings have probably seen this already this year, but my personal goals this year, to continue to kind of share the transparency, and hopefully I've done a little bit of that today in terms of where we're going with the business going forward, what our goals are. To remove obstacles that are preventing you from doing your job well, to prevent our distribution from being successful. That's kind of how I view my job day to day. And then staying close to customers, as much as I can, helps me really understand their needs and the things that we have to do every day to be able to deliver better for our customers. And then I should have started with this, but my kids obviously are one thing that's one of my major personal goals this year is to spend more time with my kids. And I already did with my son because that's like an 800-piece X-Wing fighter that I had to build with him earlier this year. So we spent quite a bit of time on that together. And my daughter, she's just a completely different being, so I'm always spending time with her. It's a lot different than a boy. So a couple of final kind of congratulatory notes here. So our AXA-versaries, and I think none of these people are here, but Allison Futch, 5 years, Sean Smith, 5 years, and Laura for 10 years. So congratulations to all of them in absentia. So this is an interesting one. So Luigi had a baby boy yesterday, which is great news. Now, but judging by that name, Dominic Vincent Andriani, like this kid's either going to be in like a Sopranos episode like 20 years from now, or is going to be a priest. But that's congratulations for Luigi. That's great news. James Riley's got a baby on the way. Congratulations, James. And then finally, diversity and inclusion. I think, whether it's diversity and inclusion or not, I think our team has been recognized through the AXA Chairman Award program, whether it's Michael Locke, Tricia Kemp, and Mary, and Susan, by Mark Pearson for their participation in these organizations. And I've participated in some of these along the way. And I think they're just fantastic, and I'm really glad that they were able to be recognized for their accomplishments. So congratulations to them as well. And finally, you need to all vote for AXA in the Best Place to Work contest. And I don't know, is the vote on one or it's actually on Facebook? It's on Facebook, but you can probably find out where it is by looking at one because it's all over that. And if we win that, AXA Foundation will make donations in the amount of $1,000 for each. Is it $1,000 for each? $1,000. All right, so this sounds as complicated as variable compensation. So just vote for AXA, and if we win, there'll be some tweets, and everyone will be happy.